What's up, people? This
What up?
is our first spoiler cast for a video game. How about that? We do talk about video games, don't we? But
This is one that is well worth it.
absolutely, it seems like we haven't discussed video games in the podcast for a while because we've been doing just all these summer release spoiler casts. So
But we've been keeping up with them. At least I have.
Yeah, I've been playing games.
Playing a lot.
I've been playing games. You know, the Xbox One's fresh, and of course, this game that we're going to talk about today, Batman Arkham Knight. I think what we should do first, because this is a spoiler cast, we're going to spoil this extremely spoiler prone story, but
this is one you don't want spoiled for you.
Yeah.
At least that's my opinion, but it's such a good story. Don't listen to this if you're going to play it. Seriously. This is like a movie.
Absolutely.
Except it's even more in depth than a movie, really.
Yeah, it's around every corner. There were times where I would talk to Luke about things going on, and then that thing that I thought happened would get subverted later. But let's go ahead before we get into the story, because for me the story is a huge part of the game. Let's talk about what we feel about the game, gameplay and just how fun it is. Because obviously no matter how good a story is, it's gonna be hard to play a game if the gameplay itself isn't fun. So it's gonna be exciting getting in depth into that. On a spoiler cast.
Absolutely.
I'll go ahead and get the ball rolling on that. Going into this game, my excitement was kind of tempered just because I've been waiting for this game for so long. It just kind of I settled down about it a lot. I was like, all right, yeah, it's coming. And then it was finally out, and I was just kind of I don't know, glib about it, I guess. But then playing it, I fell back in love.
And me telling you over and over again,
yeah,
you have to play this game.
Absolutely. But I fell back in love with the series immediately. Just it feels better than ever. I think the controls are fantastic. I feel this kind of revolutionized, the series revolutionized hand-to-hand combat in these third-person action games with their counter and a dodge and fight mechanic, and how
they take simple controls and make them fun.
Yeah, and there's depth to it too, because they give you so many gadgets to play with, and it just keeps expanding, and it doesn't feel confusing or cumbersome after the first maybe hour or two of gameplay. I feel awesome already.
I cannot believe how simple the controls are. Honestly, yeah, there are gadgets and stuff, but honestly, I smash X over and over and over. On the Xbox, it's X. I just smash it over and over again, and yet I still enjoy it. Because the timing has to be perfect, and then of course you can get into more and more basically you can make it almost as complicated as you want. Using gadget combinations, you can use something to daze someone, and then you can kick them up in the air, and then you can do a combo. And and don't even start me on if you have another freaking teammate with you. There's combos that you could go between you and Robin and you and Oracle. It's just amazing. They took something so simple and made it so fun. I remember playing games where it was just X and Y. It was you had a counter button, you had a hit button, you had a high and a low hit, and that was pretty much it. There wasn't a whole lot. And this has taken that and made it really awesome. That's one of like you said, it's just one of the things that makes me love this game. And the last Arkham City game, I didn't get to play Arkham Knight, but those last two games.
Arkham Origins.
No, I didn't. I played Arkham City and Arkham. This one I didn't play Origins or Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, and in the combat they find really fun ways to keep you on your feet. None of these games are button mashers. You can pound on that X and those same two buttons, but you have to really pay attention to the battlefield, because there's all these different types of people. There's the medic type who goes around healing the people you've knocked out already, so you better go after him quick, or else you're gonna have too many guys, you're gonna get overwhelmed. And there's the guys with knives, you have to dodge.
And they electrocute them, and
yeah, the guys.
That's a whole nother thing.
We're just covering
you can't touch them.
I don't know how that works.
It's so frustrating.
Absolutely, and you have to back claw them. It's a lot of fun. It's really satisfying when you are really quick on your feet in that. And then of course I would actually separate the gameplay into three, maybe four different types. There's the hand-to-hand combat, which we're talking about now. Then there's the Predator mode, where basically when there's a lot of people with guns, you can't just go up to them and pound on them and fight them the same way as there's these people with melee weapons and fists and all that stuff. You have to be stealth and I'm not into stealth games, but it's so fun and so satisfying in these modes to do.
And then you can't stay in detective mode for too long later on in the game because they have the detective mode finder. Interesting element.
They keep adding like ways to make it hard for you and also ways to help you out, like the whole voice replicator thing. How you can like say like you can like the person who's like ordering them around, whether it be Arkham Knight or Harley Quinn, you can take their voice and pretend like you're them and call them to go certain places to help you out strategically. It's really smart. Like I was just like, that is amazing, like what coming across that stuff.
It's so much like Batman too. Like to me, it's what I want Batman to be. It's this game to me encompasses the Batman that I want to see on the screen, that I want to see in TV shows. Like this, from his tech, his automobile, his ridiculous automobile, to just the way he talks and his mannerisms. Like there's so much about this character that Rocksteady Studios has created that just rings true for me in what I think of the Dark Knight Batman.
Yeah, it's really something, and like a lot. Okay, I'll say straight up, we're gonna praise the crap out of this game. This is gonna be a gush fest, but along the way, I have some problems almost in each area. But I'm trying to not let that detract from how amazing this game is, because there's problems, but what's good here is just so incredibly good. It almost like I forget about him almost. But like during the time I was playing it, I was like, all right, that's probably something to talk about, because there are some problems. Like now that we're talking about the Predator thing about it, there were some things I was like coming across where I was like, that probably shouldn't be a thing. Like, you know how you can do the inverted takedowns where basically you're like sitting on top of the gargoyle and you can like go down and like hang them up there and drop them down. The game's really good about like not letting you spam anything and not being too easy on you. There were like a few times in the game where I was able to spam that. Like what I was able to do is basically do that, and then the guys would come over and they're like, "Oh, what happened? Let's get him down, see if he knows anything." They get him down, they're on the ground, and I go back and do the same thing, and they act as if it never happened. They're like, "What? Who is that? Get him down. Let's see if and then I'll just go." It didn't happen every single time, because they have a way of like making whatever like terrain that you're in this Predator mode different. So like you couldn't do that every time. No, but there was a few parts. Like one of them was like towards the end of the game. Actually, I was able to do that. And another, but like the AI should have been smarter on that. But the thing is, the AI is incredibly smart. They will like take whatever vantage point you're at, and whatever vantage point, at least most of the time, and they'll make it null and void. Like if you're on a gargoyle a lot, they'll put a sensor there to where if you're standing on it, the gargoyle will explode. If you're under in the grates too much, they'll throw incendiary grenades in there and like make that not an option for you. And as you said, like they'll have one person in their team who, like when you're in detective mode, will like be able to sense you and they'll know your location if you're in that for too long. It's really smart. But I thought that was worth mentioning, because I thought I was kind of like having a chuckle a little bit while playing it and being like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm doing this.
That never happened to me, but I can definitely see that.
Like the bodies were like piling up in that one area. I was like, they're just like, what? Get him down.
Definitely see that. I think that's a major issue that I think, just evolution of games eventually will hopefully eliminate. But I think we're just not quite at the realm where you can make a massive game like this and still have the kind of AI that I think we all dream of, the kind that literally never repeats itself and is able to figure out your moves before you even figure out that they know what you're doing. I definitely would love to have that, but it's definitely not there yet.
Another part of this gameplay which I'd bring up is kind of like the puzzle element, because there is I said 4. I thought I was about to say 3, but I'll go ahead and add the puzzle element, because that's a big part of the game. Like especially if you're diving deep into the Riddler stuff, which I haven't. I'm gonna like kind of like let that be a long thing that I do. I'm not gonna like
you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, because I'd go crazy if I did it all at once and it was like, all right, I'm gonna get them all today. Because there's 250 Riddler trophies. That's crazy.
I've probably done like 20 of them. So, and that's taken me a while. So,
yeah, it's crazy, and some of them could be like really puzzling, obviously.
Frustrating.
Yeah, really frustrating. But I guess they're, it's appropriate, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
the fourth is the biggest addition to this game, and it's obviously a huge focus. It's been kind of like divisive. I've heard a lot of people like saying this is a detraction from the game and it shouldn't be in there as much as it is. The whole Batmobile / tank mode. Me personally, I didn't have a huge problem with it at all, honestly. Like there was like one part at the beginning of the game.
The tank mode?
The tank,
What?
yeah.
What part about it are you saying that you had an issue with?
Oh, only one part. Like there was one part where I was like, "Uh-oh, is this going to be the whole game?" Because I love the tank battles. I love like running away from people because it controls so well and it feels so good. It isn't frustrating at all. But one thing I'm not too crazy about is the puzzles that are involved with it. And there's only like, well, while we're out at this, me and Luke mainly did the main story. We haven't broken into like all that other stuff because there's a lot.
I did a few. I probably did about 4, maybe 5
of the other missions,
little side things in it. And this is getting into good stuff. I feel like we're in bad stuff, but just a quick thing. Like one thing I really enjoyed about this was I did those side things and it almost felt like I was still in the main story, because in the main story, like those things interjected themselves. I kind of did them and then went right back to the main mission. And it just felt cool. It was like, wow, I have this whole other like side story that almost feels like I just kind of went, in the same path of the main story, but just kind of like, oh, I'll do that too. And then keep going on with the main story.
Huh.
It felt real natural. But anyways, I've only done a little bit. You're right. Like,
yeah,
I focus mostly on the main story, finishing that.
Exactly. So I have no idea whether or not like tank and car puzzles will be like a lot of like the side missions and Riddler trophies. I know definitely a few of them were Riddler trophies that I did, but I'm not crazy about that. Like it felt more frustrating doing the puzzles with a car. But the chase stuff, the tank battles, I thought it was fantastic. Like I was thrilled during a lot of them. There were a couple of the boss fights with the tank that I was like, I just want this to be over. But like most of the tank battles that were good. Like I really enjoyed like the fact that the combat computers gave you like the line of fire for the other takes. So like avoiding them would be almost like
that would have been so frustrating.
Oh my
without
gosh,
it.
Yeah, I'd get annihilated.
I was frustrated enough with the lines.
Yeah, but like the way they make it and like feel the control in that is seamless. Like switching between the car and the tank.
See, this is actually one of the negative things I have to say about it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I really don't like the way the car drives. Like in normal driving mode, I found myself going off the road, hitting into walls. I loved the mode where it's in like battle mode. It almost looks like it goes up on its toes and like,
yeah,
like a spider almost. That's the way I thought of it. But I felt like I almost never wanted to enter back into car mode, even though it was so much faster to move around in that in car mode. But it would just, I don't know, it felt weird like to look and drive left and right. It just I was recently playing Need for Speed Rivals, and so I guess I kind of went from that to this, and it was like, oh, this is clearly not a racing game, which obviously it isn't, and it's fine. I don't really like the way it drives in racing mode, but I love or car mode, but I love the Predator battle mode, whatever you want to call it. I thought that was amazing. And probably my biggest thing with the car is that the times when you're driving around and there'll be like random people that'll be like, oh, there's Batman, we got to get away from him.
Yeah.
And then you get them and it's real easy. Well, then there's the like bigger, like all of a sudden things that happen with the red like tank trucks. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then like the minions come behind them. You ever done any of these?
I think so.
There'll be like 5 minions behind them, and you'll get those, and then you'll have to get the main guy.
Yeah.
You have to shoot him like 5 times.
Definitely. It's like a chase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times that chase has gone on for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't freaking catch up to him. Like I was using the jet thing, the little like, you press Y to like speed up, and I just couldn't catch him. Like you see the meter number, and it never seemed to go down. And so that was one frustrating thing. Like here I have this like super advanced Wayne Tech tank that I'm using, and he can't catch up to some like, I don't know, Humvee or whatever the truck was
you're chasing.
And that was one thing that kind of annoyed me.
Absolutely. Like the way I played the game, just because like I want to get through the story because I felt like I was so sensitive to spoilers. I just wanted to get through it.
Yeah.
But the way I played, I didn't find myself actually in the car that much. There was only like a few instances where I'm like, all right, this is the car, but like most of it was
the island part kind of early on in the main story.
Yes, absolutely.
That was a lot of the car.
That was a lot of car.
You pull the elevator up and all that.
Yeah. Exactly. And and Ace Chemicals or whatever. Like that. The thing about the car, which I think like kind of hurt the controls for it, but helped the controls for the tank, is that it's kind of counterintuitive, because in most driving games we're used to the same controls. The back trigger on the right is accelerate, and the back trigger on the left is brake in reverse. And in this one, they make it switching between the tank, that left trigger. And so it feels weird. Every time I'm in the car, I'm always trying to brake with the left trigger, and I just turn into the tank. I'm like, crap. Oh yeah, it's freaking square, or B if you're playing Xbox. And it's just like, that it does make the car kind of feel awkward at times. And but yeah, still not too much for me. But I can imagine that getting into this meat of this game and the whole side story stuff, that it might be a little tank heavy or whatever. I don't know. But as the main story goes, I thought it was fine. Like there are a lot of people complaining about it. I thought it was fine. But I will say my preferred method of travel is still gliding around the city. It feels better than ever.
What do they call it? The sling thing? You sling off things.
You freaking like propel yourself.
As soon as I could, I upgraded that as far as I could.
Absolutely. The thing
is, it makes a big difference when you upgrade it.
Because like for some reason I didn't realize that you got the new suit. For some reason, like playing it like at the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, regular Batman stuff. But when you get the new suit, the game just elevates so much for me. Doing the super jump out of the Batmobile and freaking sling. I was like having so much fun. Like you can obviously have a lot more control over the gliding in this game compared to the other ones. It's like a lot more like pretty much just flying. You can get so far. You can probably go around the entire city just in the air using the grapple hook and the glide cape. It's a lot of fun. I just love dive bombing and just going up. And the control felt super solid in that. And I just really appreciated that. I guess anything else before we go into like story stuff?
Good stuff.
Yeah, the stuff that's so prevalent.
Well, I have so much. I don't know what fits into what category.
One thing I will bring up that is kind of a negative for me. I really love the boss fights of Arkham City, especially like the Clayface and the Ra's al Ghul one and the Mr. Freeze one. There isn't really any here. There's boss fights, but none of them are hand to hand. They're all in the tank for the most part. There's one instance that we'll get into later that it's debatable, but there's no real big like hand-to-hand combat boss fights here. They're all like the main like thrust of it is getting them in the tank, or you just find them and there they are, and it's story stuff. But I mean, and then again, there might be some deeper in the game. I don't know yet. But
a lot of the main bad guys, though, it wouldn't really make sense to fight them.
No, like Scarecrow, I don't want a big hand-to-hand combat thing. But there was one character, or maybe a couple, that I was like, that I'm not going to get into here, but I was really like looking forward to like that confrontation. It never came, but that seemed like a good a cue as any to get to the story stuff.
Sounds good.
So that thing I'll say about this game immediately, which impressed the crap out of me. This game freaks you out. It's like playing a nightmare, but not like it's a horror game. There were actually a few jump scares in it, but it's like, it's so trippy the way they have it, because one of the big elements that surprised me at the beginning of the game is Joker's in your head because you have his blood in you and you're slowly turning into him. So because like they did a great job with advertising. They didn't show Joker in the game at all, to my knowledge, at least. I didn't see it. And to have that moment where he comes up at Ace Chemicals and says, "Miss me?" Oh, I jumped. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was just such a crazy, like, what is going on?
It was almost like the prelude had ended at that point, and then like the real story started.
Absolutely.
Because it kind of like went black for a moment after that.
Yeah,
and
then
it
you're like,
was
Gordon?
What just happened?
Yeah.
Like gave you a minute to breathe and then it came back.
This game made my like work hours like suffer at work because like I was just so tired because playing it at night, like things kept happening that I kept being like, well, can't stop now. So like I'd have to move forward until I was like satisfied. Like, well, satisfied enough to where I could be like, all right, I gotta stop. It's late. But like that was pretty late when I was at that point at Ace Chemicals. And then like it cuts to black and I'm like, well, I have to play for an extra half hour at least to kind of get a grasp of what's kind of going on here. And like it fades in and I'm like, what? I'm Commissioner Gordon for like a little bit.
That's right.
It's just so cool though, the way like the gameplay like mixes itself up, but it never does it for too long.
What I thought, and some of the guys on IGN podcast were discussing it, and I think they kind of had a good point here, was what was so cool about the Joker was that, yes, there would, some blood had gotten into Batman, and yes, it was a figment of Scarecrow's chemicals that were causing him to see it. But, and I'm sure you've thought of this already too, is just that it's basically a vision of the struggle inside Batman, and that's what I think everyone kind of agrees makes it so cool. It's not just the Joker being the Joker and doing what he does. He's literally voicing out the fears that I feel that Mr. Wayne has, like in being Batman and having the responsibility on his shoulders to defend an entire city from this chemical that makes everyone have all their worst nightmares come to reality. And the Arkham Knight, God knows what his plan is with the drones. Like all this responsibility of like these two guys together are trying to absolutely wipe out everyone in my city. And I don't know that I can do this. Like I'm one man that has all this technology, and so much of him wants to give up, but so much of him wants to succeed. And he's so torn between so much emotion that I think, the Joker kind of comes out. It's like weird things happen to a human body when it's put under extreme stress. You get bloody noses, you pass out. All these things happen when extreme stress is put on you. And to me, this was Batman's version of that. This was, I can't handle what's going on right now, and this is manifesting itself out, and I can't stop it because I'm just under so much stress. Like he's just fighting battles on every front, and that was something that there's so many things I love about this game, but that was one of the things I love so much about it. It was, you have so many characters coming in. You have the Joker, you have Scarecrow. I mean, in some cases, you literally saw every freaking enemy that Batman has ever faced. Yeah. I don't know if you went into the police precinct, but you can see the items of everyone.
Once I stopped looking, I couldn't stop.
It was insane.
It was so awesome going to the evidence room and just hearing the description by Cash just going into it. I was like, this is great.
So you have like every character, and you have so many struggles going on at the same time, and he finds a way to deal with each and everything, and he has his team behind him, and they just work together on so many different fronts. It was just, I thought it was amazing the way it was organized, and it didn't feel cluttered to me. It felt appropriately organized, even though it was extremely full of things.
Sometimes like when you would see people and people would talk to you, it usually felt organic. Like when you see the Joker, like you'd turn a corner and you'd like see him like sitting on the edge of like a skyscraper, and he just starts talking to you, and it felt everything. That's one of the biggest praises I'll give this game. So much of it felt so organic and so like genuine that it was just amazing. And it's production. Like the production value of this game is off the hook, and it's just wonderful. And like I was just like throughout the game like saying like to myself, man, am I playing this? It's like legitimately, like I hate this conversation that comes up a lot of times, but like playing it, I was like, man, this is the most impressive next gen game. Is it like the best looking? It looks amazing, it looks fantastic, but no, it's probably not the best looking. But as for how it's played combined with how it looks, there's no way you could have done this on like Xbox 360, PS3. No way. It feels like something like next level, and it's the way it like integrates the story into gameplay is I appreciate it so much as like a guy who looks for story in game. I so appreciate that.
Definitely.
But like that when the how they did the Joker was like the first sign for me, like, man, this is incredible. There was a few parts where he turned up, it scared the crap out of me. I don't know if this happened to you, but like I was just zipping up buildings. It was like towards the end, and he just
right there.
And he's like, and I was like, oh my gosh! And he's like,
stop doing that.
Obviously the game trolling you because he's like said something like funny, like you should see the look on our face or something like that. It's genuine. It's genius. But what else in the story do you want to talk about? One of the things that I was like, oh my gosh, they did this. And I guess like it was one of the first big twists of the game, kind of like a double twist actually. And I brought it up to you. I was like, oh my God, they killed Barbara Gordon. And like they have you throughout most of the game believing that she's dead.
That was probably the biggest moment in the first part of it that I was just like, what? Like I just saw that happen. That's just I just didn't think it was gonna happen. You know, it's one of those moments. It's like, oh my gosh, like they actually put that in the game.
Yeah, and like they have, it's done so well and so interesting. Like they have the Joker step in front of the frame where you're looking at Barbara, and he does the thing, and like as she shoots herself, it's like so dark. And this is the first one that was M-rated, and I mean it's not. I can tell they're not doing something to be like, yeah, we're gonna make this M-rated or anything. That's just it's the nature of the story. A lot of dark things happen in this game. There's no one like getting split down the middle or any fatalities like that happening, but like it's very mature.
Nothing goofy. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but that was a huge thing. Like, how did you feel about Scarecrow as a villain? Because I would say like there are three main villains here, and he's one of them.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the way he was portrayed. I loved his voice. We were just talking about the actor who played him. It just,
John Nobles, I know him from Fringe. He's a great voice.
I don't know. I really liked it. He seemed so intimidating. He seemed like every time I saw him like in the scene, it was like those freaking needle fingers.
Oh yeah.
I would not want to be anywhere near that man.
No, he's horrifying. He's so face jacked
and
up.
Then it's like it's funny because at the end, like it comes to fruition. He uses those needle fingers.
Yeah, and you're just like over and over again.
He's a creepy guy, but those needle fingers alone were just like, oh gosh.
Yeah, for sure.
Creeps me out.
I was surprised to the extent of how he was used because like I was expecting the Arkham Knight, which we haven't gotten to yet, to be like seriously the main, but no, he's kind of a subordinate of he's a loose cannon, but he's mainly subordinate to Crane.
He comes in and out a lot in the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And but I was surprised to see like how far that villain got, which I was a fan of personally because I love that villain. I feel like he's creepy. I feel like he's interesting, and it was like
he's intelligent, so it makes sense that he has this complex plan that he has a way to actually do it because he knows what he's doing.
And when the city gets filled with the fear toxin, that was remarkable. Like I was like, holy crap when it happened. And like the fact that like this, it looked beautiful and horrifying all at the same time. And like, oh man, just flying above that. And then the point where you had to go beneath it, it was just, it's crazy. It was just stunning to behold, really.
It really is an accomplishment. It's amazing that a story could go on that long and have just dynamic environments, a huge map, dynamic environments. I mean, Grand Theft Auto, one of my favorite games, huge map, but honestly, this one puts it to shame in some ways of how dynamic the environment is. And like you said, the gas, like you literally change the entire map in an instance. And like, that must have taken an amazing amount of work to go from like the perfect city to the damaged city to the gas city. Like just an incredible feat.
And it's crazy to see how many times the story affects the city. Like even after like the cloud dispersal like happens and the whole thing with poison ivy, you see all the pollen and the leaves all over the city after that. And that was almost cool like, man, attention to detail is stunning. I know keep on gushing, but we're gonna get
the trees pop up and they have to implement that into the map.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hats off to these people. But you want to go ahead and talk about the Arkham Knight for a bit? He's, the title character, I suppose. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're still here, full spoilers. They pretty much do the Red Hood story, and I didn't know they were gonna do it at first. I had and as the game went on, my minor suspicions turned into concrete belief towards the 75 or maybe actually the 60% mark of that main story, which people having comic book knowledge and whatever, that's inevitable. And I feel like if you didn't have the comic book knowledge, they probably showed their hand with the flashback stuff. Did you kind of get it by then?
I really didn't.
You really didn't. Okay, so may I have those glasses on?
Looking back on it makes sense, but
yeah, when they were just showing because they did show multiple flashback stuff.
They definitely did.
Which was awesome, just being there, seeing those iconic, tragic moments, seeing that moment from The Killing Joke where Joker shoots Barbara. It's just dang.
Yeah. I guess I just thought that they were just more of Batman's emotion coming up and them just showing his biggest fears and his biggest trials through his life. And I guess I thought they were maybe showing why Nightwing was in the story and why Robin wasn't.
That's good.
Looking back on it, I mean, it's obvious, but I haven't seen the Red Hood or read the comic. I haven't, so I didn't know that storyline anyways.
Have you seen the animated movie?
That's what I'm talking about. I haven't seen that or read the comic.
Dude, that's one of the best DC
You've told me
movies.
that.
We're gonna have to watch it together because I love it and it's really good. Yeah. Anyways, I'm glad to know that it didn't spoil it for you, because it's just probably the knowledge, the meta knowledge, where I was like, oh yeah, they're doing this, and it was done well. It was just really cool to be in those memories when he was having those hallucinations. It was really crazy. But what'd you think of the villain? Just kind of how they went about that villain. What'd you think of him in total?
You mean the Arkham Knight? Yeah. I felt that he was kind of forgettable in the beginning. But I don't know how much they did that on purpose or not, but it felt like they kind of wanted you to think that it was just some guy and it was just going to be some person that had, I mean, I think they even said it when he was on the radio. I think he even said oh, he's probably some guy that has a grudge, from the Arkham Asylum, and, they're going through the records and couldn't find him. And then when it all came to fruition, the whole storyline, it got me to be wow, this is awesome. Just it makes so much sense now why the Joker was showing us all that. And man, those scenes with the flashbacks and was it the Arkham Knight? When he's in the theater and there's that crazy thing where the Joker's singing and you have to go around in the circle as Nightwing. Yeah. Who was that? The Arkham Knight? They had the bomb. I'm blanking on who that was.
One of the guys that Batman had at the theater who was infected with the Joker's blood.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
And they just changed.
That was the final one that you did.
I loved that.
That was one of the best scenes, I think, in a video game.
It was just so cool.
It was so simple, but
yeah,
just the way it played out.
So smart.
So cool.
Just the fact that it kind of gave you a glimpse into a classic Joker battle, even though he was dead. It's just and Mark Hamill's singing and it's just if you listen to that, it's funny song. That's the thing. I was laughing at him the whole time. It was just so enjoyable to have that Mark Hamill Joker back. I know we're back to that, but he's my favorite Joker. That's the Joker I grew up with. It's the Joker that a lot of people grew up with. And while there's tons of other good Jokers, he's the one I associate the Joker with the most. And he's just man, I can't get enough.
He nails the voice for sure.
Yeah, it's sad that we're not. That's the last we're gonna really probably see of him in these video games. But great way to send him off.
But I guess I was trying to say that I felt it was cool how in the Arkham Knight, when everything came to pass, it felt like so much of what you'd seen that you thought was unconnected to the Arkham Knight was then connected.
Yeah, payoff.
The Joker's clear, taking of, I'm blanking on his name. What? It's not Jason, the other guy.
Oh yeah. Tim Drake, the Robin.
Tim. Yeah, that he had taken Tim and then clearly completely screwed with his head and just turned him into, you know, the Arkham Knight or whoever he had become.
Oh, sorry,
underneath.
Jason. I'm sorry, Jason. Yeah, the guy who turns into the Arkham Knight. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrible to watch. Like,
but it just kind of all came back, like all this junk you had seen with the, you know, the Joker messing with you the whole time. And
yeah,
it was neat.
Absolutely. And like those scenes, it was hard to watch because like it was just like when he was like hit someone with a crowbar and he brands them. It was off screen, but like just the implied violence was just so like seeing this like kid being like broken down was tough to watch. It always is. A lot of these versions, it's really like crazy. But yeah, what else should we bring up in the story? Oh, Poison Ivy was an integral part of this story. Like, you know, like they had her in the beginning and then she comes back and the kind of the maybe 60% point in a big way and like plays a big part in like defeating Scarecrow, and she dies doing it.
But do you feel like her sacrifice was more for the plants than it was for the city?
It was absolutely for the plants. When like Alfred was like, "At least she died a noble death, sir," and I was like, "Well, no, she was just kind of, you know,
I don't know.
It happened to be like the right situation for her to really give her life like that, because I don't think she'd want to see the Toxin or Scarecrow or whatever take out all the plants in Gotham. I think she'd give her life for like a single tree." So it was like,
I don't know. I did get the feeling, obviously, that she was doing it for the plants, but I don't know. It felt like she went further than she would have just for the plants. Maybe I got a feeling it was for Batman, like kind of trying to do like one last good thing with a life that had been ruined.
Yeah, one thing I have noticed was that this is a different Ivy than we got in City. Like in the Arkham City, it was very much like a really kind of like a scary version of her. She had this really like multi-tonal voice, and it was very much like a creepy Ivy. And this one, she's more humanized, and right from the get-go. So yeah, I think they were trying to humanize her in that, but it was interesting because you didn't really get that much of her in the other games. Like I think like this game's kind of doing, like it gives you like some of those other characters that you got to deal with more in the first two games, more of a spotlight in this one. So that's really cool. What else?
The finale for sure.
Absolutely, the finale. Like I thought the finale was gonna be like, there were multiple moments that could have been the finale. I was like, here it comes.
Yeah.
Oh, there's more. Oh, here it comes.
Yeah,
there's more. Like when the city gets filled with the fear toxin, I was like, here's the finale. Like, nope, not really at all.
This was a long story.
It was, and you know, it was satisfying. I didn't feel like it was too long, to be honest. There was a few things that like I didn't really quite understand, but like I think the finale was the battle in his mind. Well, that was like the last thing you play.
Amazing.
Which is crazy.
Absolutely loved it.
So much payoff from the characters of both Batman and the Joker. And of course, I was audibly excited in my room playing it, where we get the classic line speech from the animated series that I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. I was like, yeah, you are. Get him. Getting that cage. I was like super happy. It was a super geek out fan service moment. There was a lot of them. We'll get into it. But like the fact that you start off playing as the Joker, you're just killing everyone in Arkham. You're just like, oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Then you do that final move. That
was intense.
The killing joke. Yeah, so cool. So cool. And now the whole thing was like a freak out moment of many crazy, like just like loopy, psychotic moments where you're just like seeing things. And of course I get scared again when that moment where you're turning around, all the Batman statues are there. I knew it was coming.
Just firing.
Come on, Batman. Yeah, you're first person mode. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And like, you know, obviously
a first person shooter.
You don't want that for like a long time, but in that moment it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Just like it added to like the craziness of it. And like then of course Batman pops out and scares the crap out of me alone in my room in the dark. But
I loved how it took you to a place where it really felt completely hopeless. It's like Batman is now strapped down. His mask has been taken off. Everyone knows who he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's been injected over and over again.
Jeez.
And he's been exposed to this chemical. And he's become now the Joker. I love that it took you to that place where it was like, oh my God, like they're just going to end it all right here. And then like he had a plan all along. He went inside and did what he had to do. And that's, to me, that's what Batman is. He's the sacrificial lamb of Gotham City. And that's the reason I think, to me, this is the pinnacle of all Batmans that I've seen in any story. It just, it did what I want Batman to do. I want Batman to give his all for this city, to protect his city and these people that he clearly cares about. And he literally went above and beyond anything that anyone else could have given. Like literally no one else in their own humanity could take that kind of punishment and that kind of exposure to the drug. And he was able to, because he's the Batman.
Yeah. And like, I'm with you. I mean, like, this is, for me, just as Joker is the Joker that I attach that character to, this is that Batman, because like, the fact of the matter is, it's Kevin Conroy doing the voice. Of course, that's a huge thing for me. But it isn't just like a paste and copy and paste version of the animated series. It's kind of like there's a lot of comic book in there. There's a lot of movies in there, actually. It's like all that influence, but I feel like the main anchor is that animated series. I mean, obviously, the voice is kind of a giveaway for that. But it's just, yeah, that this is like true blue Batman for me. And it's really good. All right, let's just shout out some moments, some holy crap moments that just left me like just being like, man, am I playing this? Because there's so many of those. That the assault on the GPD, I thought was breathtaking. That shot where you're just like, you go out there and you're perched up and you just see all the tanks lined up firing on it, and the dramatic music's playing. I was like, this is so epic, so cinematic. Again,
so many drones.
So many freaking drones. It's crazy. The moment in Ace Chemicals where you're taking the chemicals out, they're like the stabilizers or whatever, and that music's playing, it's just like, it's great. Like, it's not the end because you're like, what, now we're into the game or something like that, but still, such a great moment.
There was, I think it's when I'm going from room to room in the theater, getting the different people that had been exposed to the Joker blood. And I looked at one of the posters, and it was Joker like about to slice Batman's throat. And it was awesome.
Like, I didn't even notice
it was like the first kiss is the best or something. And then you'd look away and you look back, and it's like a girl draped over the shoulder of a man with a rose in her hand instead of a knife. And I tried to look for more of them, but that in that moment when that happened, it was like, this game literally just blew my mind. That was so cool how it clearly, like, I kept looking back and forth, and it did it again, but it was in the moment of me walking through, and I walked past it and was like, wait a minute, what? And I looked back, and it was just a normal poster. I was like, I swear I just saw the Joker like slicing Batman's throat. And then I looked back, and it was that again. I was like, wait, what? That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Just to have a moment where like you weren't expecting it at all. It wasn't really part of the story, and it's in a dynamic environment like that. And I know this is all over the internet. Everyone's already done this, but it's really cool when you haven't heard about it, haven't read about it online, and it just happens. That it blew my mind. It was so cool.
Yeah. And there's like moments like that all over. Like, again, like we said earlier, there's so many organic moments in this game that like, I think like that you kind of could share with your friends, and just like that. Like, I didn't have that moment, but you did. And that's so cool.
It was
like,
amazing.
There's this part in the story, I'm sure a lot of people, like almost everyone had this moment, but for me, it felt super genuine, super crazy. It was like one of the first times you actually come face to face with the Arkham Knight is in Ace Chemicals. You're saving one of the chemical workers. You're trapped in the glass, whatever case that is. And like the Arkham Knight and his goons come out, surround you, point guns at you, and you're like, hold your guns on him. And he's like gloating. And like in that moment, I was like, all right, how are we going to get out of this one? And like, I'm like, oh, I can move. And like, my Batmobile's out there. And without prompt. That's the thing that was awesome about that. There was no prompt. And I was like, can I just like fire at them? And I did. And it just like completely like worked with the story. And guy comes crashing through the glass, and the Arkham Knight zips off. And I was like, that was amazing. I felt like Batman in that moment. Like as much as I possibly could in a video game. Yeah, be the Batman.
That should be the tagline.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Huh, interesting. But oh my gosh, so good, so amazing. And again, we're gushing, but it's hard not to do that with this game. Obviously, there were parts where I was frustrated. Let's go into those. The tank fight with the Arkham Knight, with both of them, I wasn't too crazy about. I was just kind of like,
which was the first one?
The first one where he's has the cloud dispersal thing, and you have to like like basically shoot at him and then
you have to run away from him. It's so hard.
Go as fast as you can. Yeah, I died a lot.
He's so fast. He's in this giant vehicle, and he's so fast.
Absolutely, he's firing every single thing in the world.
It's actually true of both of them. He's in giant vehicles, and he's so fast.
And then the second one, he's in the drill, where you're basically playing hide and go seek until you have to like lead him down the trail of explosions.
That was another one. I was not expecting that. For the vehicle to be obliterated, I like jumped out of it and was like, F. Like, really?
There it goes. And then
do I really have to go without it now for the rest of the
Fox
game?
Has a spare.
A white one.
A white one, yeah. And then also, the kind of like as much of a boss fight you're going to get at the end with basically it was like not really a hand-to-hand thing. It was just kind of getting through like some Predator mode trials. Like as the Red Hood, after that whole thing happens, he sends like some people after you, and like I kept thinking the boss fight was gonna happen where we'd be like both down, both have to like go at it, and not have to be avoiding like his cunning. But it was just he'd sit there with a sniper and he'd send people or send drones after you, and it was basically just another Predator thing. It wasn't the hardest one. I was just like,
that was probably the least rewarding.
Yeah,
it was all this story, and then it was kind of like, what?
Why are we doing
He's just
this?
gonna sit up there?
Why are we going room to room? Like, and you were like, you can't get out of this one. He's like,
and it was so easy to avoid his sniper fire.
It really was.
He never shot one time at me.
And he never moves. You just go right under him, under the gargoyle, and then zip up, and then goes.
He throws a grenade.
Throws a grenade. Vanishes. It wasn't terrible or anything like that. It was just not as satisfying as you'd want from your last conversation.
It could have been really cool.
Oh yeah. And so I think that's a failing of the game is the boss fights weren't anywhere close to up to snuff to like what they offered in City. Even though they offered the moments that they did offer were leaps and bounds above that. But I just wish there would have been more stuff like that, like the boss fights that were in City, like the Clayface fight in City where you're fighting Clayface. I thought was really cool, and Solomon Grundy and Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, I guess I should say. But yeah, it's a minor blemish. It wasn't like those moments weren't super frustrating for me. Like I died several times, but once I kind of got the hang of it, I was like, oh, okay, this is fine, but still just not what I wanted. Anything else? I'm trying to think of some negatives here because I've been gushing. Probably going to gush some more. There's a few things that took me out of it, but I think this happens in every one of these games with the Riddler stuff. Because I did some, not a lot, but immediately I started thinking about it. Because that's the thing that the game stops me from doing is thinking too much. And immediately doing the Riddler stuff, I was like, how many people and how much money does he have to build all these tracks and courses for the Batmobile? Holy crap. It goes into like me thinking this is just a mini game, which, most of the story is like in most of the game is so facilitated by story. It was just a bit distracting for me. But the fact of the matter is that most of that Riddler stuff is optional. I haven't really gotten into that much of it. I can't ding it too much. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. It's not like they were like terrible and completely unfun, at least not yet. But I just found it a little bit goofy, going down each elevator to like, all right, Batman, we got a race here, and then like you can.
I don't think I've done these. This isn't ringing any bells with me.
Oh, you'll get to him if you go anywhere deeper. There, you can go down the elevator and you're switching off his stuff. He's really elaborate of the Riddler to do all that stuff just to accommodate your Batmobile. But whatever. It's exactly as I said. It is what it is, because this sort of thing is in the other games where it's like this is kind of goofy. But yeah, whatever. There's 250 of them. There's no way I'm getting them all. I'll say that right off the bat. There's a true ending of this game that I looked up on YouTube. Not gonna do the Riddler trophies. I made that decision.
I'm gonna watch it. I am watching it.
Yeah. go ahead and watch it because it's crazy.
Because he already said like this one last night.
Yeah,
and then
which is cool.
Was the Protocol?
Nightfall Protocol, another
yeah.
big graphic novel from Batman. But like, it's I'm not gonna give it away here, especially since Luke hasn't seen it. But I think it is a little ridiculous that they hid all that stuff behind 100% completion because it's important and it's big and it's like really like discussion worthy what happens. It's not just like a little thing. It's big.
It seemed like they wanted like something rewarding for you to complete it all,
which I appreciate. I really do.
But it's like no one's gonna do this. Like maybe if they could have set it behind like some of the other side stories, like get all these side stories done, these 10 side stories, these small, extra things, like the bat creature guy, like side stories like that. But it's like silly little puzzles that are just all over Gotham. Like
too much.
It's just I don't even feel like I'd feel that satisfied even if I did them all.
No,
it would just be to watch that video.
Because the thing is, this is the true ending of the game. This is the ending. This caps off the series. This video and or like this cutscene at the end. The fact that it's hidden, it's criminal, and like it's just look it up on YouTube.
Some poor soul worked hard to make that YouTube video.
That. I know. So just freaking. It's an elaborate thing and it's huge. So if you've completed the main story, go ahead and look it up on YouTube. It's there. Looks great. Do that because do yourself a favor and if just do that stuff at your leisure because it's gonna kill you. But like, real quick, one thing I'll mention, another great moment. Man Bat. Like again, I was zipping around Gotham.
That's the one time it really did scare me.
In my freaking face. Ugh. The last thing I was expecting.
I was audibly like, what?
I know, I was like, oh my god. It scared the crap out of me.
It was awful.
And
I went and finished that because I was just so annoyed with him squawking behind me in the air.
Like I did
that story.
I did that up to that, but like because I thought it was so cool, I was like, I think I was on the phone with my girlfriend at the park. I don't play games like that. It was just an instance where I was, but I was like, oh my gosh, I can hear the Man Bat, and I like hung up the phone. And I was like, hold on, I'll call you back.
He's like, who's the Man Bat?
Who's Man Bat, Jordan? You mean Batman?
He's coming in my room.
No Man Bat. Now I'll call you back. But like. And then, like, I was like, oh, my God, there he is. And, like, hovering down, met him in air. Awesome moment just to hear him and, like, track him down like that. It was, again, natural, organic, what I want in games like this. Open world games need to take note. Like, they really do need to take note of how to create organic moments. That's probably half the reason why I didn't go to, like, the other side missions is because, for me, it didn't feel as necessary and as its main story was because it's like it felt like this was really important and I was like I should do this seems like the more important thing than to go track down Two-Face right now and stop whatever he's doing. There's a lot at stake here. I'm gonna go ahead and go after Scarecrow because if I'm gonna be Batman,
and you're so engaged. I mean,
so engaged that's like why would I?
They kept saying like maybe you should take care of the other stuff like.
No,
what?
Why would I do that?
The entire city's covered in gas right now. What are you talking about?
They're gonna kill him. Why would I stop? Are you crazy, Alfred?
The Oracle's gone.
Okay, listen. That's the preferred way to play the game. If it bothers you that some of that side stuff is a detraction, just don't do it yet. Just wait until like he's like at the end of the game. He's like, there's some other stuff I need to take care of. Do it then.
But do it because it's good content.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. Like. And it felt right, like when he at the end where he was like, "I gotta do stuff. This city needs saving still." I'm like, "All right, that feels great. That's a great segue into going into all these side stuff." And so, yeah, I wouldn't actually, detract from the main story because there's enough variation in that main story to be like complete all in its own. And this other stuff that I'm gonna face is just icing on the cake. So
enjoy whipping around that awesome city.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I don't think I have much more to say, but
I've got one really big negative thing.
Ooh,
probably
awesome.
the biggest negative thing about this entire video game. I love this game so much, but I think its biggest flaw is the way they handled the extra content. I feel that they just completely fumbled this from day one. The IGN guys had, breaking news, and when they got in the scoop of the season pass was already online from Rocksteady. Sorry. So Rocksteady announced well before the game, like 2 months before the game, that they were going to have a $45 season pass, and it was just ridiculous. It's not Call of Duty. It's not a game that I go on and the new maps are there and I play over and over again. It's not that. I think Call of Duty is way too expensive, but for this game to be as expensive as Call of Duty for a season pass is absolutely ridiculous. And on top of that, I haven't bought it because I think it's a complete waste of money. But on top of that, I'm hearing from what I'm reading online that this content is not good. It's super short and just not worth the money. And I think that was a complete fumble on their case. This is a game that I would definitely buy more content for because I love this world. I'd love to fill it out with this Batgirl, add-on that they have. But from what I've heard, it's not worth the money. And that frustrates me to no end, that they took an amazing game, made more content for it, and then charged almost as much as the original game for that content. And it's not even good content.
I'm really glad you brought this up. I kind of wasn't thinking about it because honestly, when that stuff happens, I don't think about it. And like, it's only till like I kind of like get to the bottom of the barrel of content to realize that there's so much content out there that's ready at launch pretty much that I have to buy. Like it pisses me off. Like when games do this, like when I'm buying Mortal Kombat X and they're like, hey, do you want the $30 pack to have all this DLC? I'm like, no, I don't.
I want it. I just don't want to pay for it.
I'm not paying you half the price.
I bought the game.
Exactly. And all this stuff is ready. Don't mean like just because the Batgirl DLC came out a week later, it's ready. It's ready to go. All these skins or whatever, that's fine.
It did come out really fast.
Yeah, it's all stuff that's there and ready, and it's just more money. It just doesn't feel good. There's games that are doing it right. The Witcher 3 is pumping out their DLC for free. That's crazy. Nintendo, they have a drip system with Splatoon. They've been coming out with like weekly content for months, and it's all free. It's crazy. And like, just take notes instead of like, what's turning all these people off? Are you just like making people begrudgingly buy this stuff? Make people enjoy the experience of dealing with you. Like
we shouldn't have to pay $105 for a complete game.
Yeah, like it's distracting when you buy a game, which is already expensive for a lot of people. $60 for like a kid in high school or a kid in college is a lot of freaking money. And when you're like wheeling and dealing like this, it just isn't a good experience, and it just feels disingenuous when you do it like that. I understand that it takes a lot of money to make this game, and but the best way to keep them coming back is to create a full package that you get and you're rewarded for paying $60 and trusting them with
at
your
the
money.
least. Make it worth it. Like don't give me an hour long of content for $45 and then some skins and small things. Like it's just, from what I've read, like I said, I haven't downloaded this, so I can't say definitively that it's not worth it, but from pretty reliable sources, IGN mostly, they've said it's not worth it. It's just, it doesn't add a lot, and that's a lot of money for not adding a lot to the game. That's very frustrating.
Yeah, just don't tease us, don't hold back any of your game from us. Just do that. And it's a shame to even bring this up because as we said, like the people who have made this game delivered something huge, something really amazing, and I think should be played by everyone. But yeah, looking at this, you got the Batgirl DLC. What is that?
Harley Quinn and the Red Hood.
It's like, are you kidding me? That's a lot of stuff. And and I appreciate the thought. Like honestly, when it comes to DLC, it makes it sound like it's just anti-DLC, blah blah blah. I appreciate it when it's handled right, and like some time is given between. Like Smash Bros, it was like 6 months, like before they put out anything, and like
Call of Duty's just came out, the last one,
and
that was released in November.
Yeah, and it's like when you get that, you feel like there's a team, they're just working on it, and then they release it. Like do that, take your time, like when you're hearing about all this stuff and it's like I haven't even beat the game yet and there's all this stuff here waiting for me that I have to
before the game even comes out.
Yeah,
you already know about it.
And I know that like all this stuff is like it's the mean, ugly financial monster of it when it comes to like the retailers who have to have these pre-order perks, and you have to like have some of this for like exclusive for consoles and all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of business behind it, and I understand that, but try to negotiate a deal where people aren't feeling cheated. And like I understand, like if you don't want to do it, don't buy it. And you know, I probably won't. And that's the thing, but it's a shame.
I
like
probably won't.
I would love more of this game, and I'm gonna get a lot already, but
you
know, it feels like they're just holding back the true package just for no good reason other than money.
Definitely.
And but anyways, let's go ahead and on a positive, and let's just
definitely
any other good moments of this game. Probably think of just a few, but like a lot of those moments were just those oh snap, I'm going crazy moments, because there's, as I said, like this is like you're playing through Batman's nightmare. And like a lot of those instances were, one, surprising, two, like the way the Joker like came in front of a barber and so artfully done. It was just so satisfying.
I thought it was devastating, but
well, yeah, it wasn't like yeah, that's the good stuff where like Barbara died.
That's
or anything,
the good stuff.
Sick like that. But I was just like, oh man, that was well done.
Definitely,
like,
definitely,
that was crazy,
incredibly well done.
Absolutely. I really can't think of anything else to say. I've already said so much good stuff. There's probably some.
I thought so many of the enemies as well were artfully crafted. I think so many times a game will create the hero in a really good way and maybe focus on the main villain really well. But I really thought every one of the characters that they showed, were not the best of them. Like I feel like the Joker and Batman were the best of the Joker and Batman from history. But I felt like Harley Quinn was really well done. It felt exactly what I wanted Harley Quinn to. It wasn't too goofy. It wasn't too serious. It was Harley Quinn. Penguin, I felt, was just well done. Felt like Penguin. The fact that so many of the characters, at least in some way, made an appearance to me just rounded out the game. There were so many things that the game itself was so good, and then there was these things that kind of polished the game to a shine. And for instance, in there, seeing all the different items from all the enemies Batman had ever fought through the history of Batman was just amazing.
Scarface, the like ventriloquist dummy Scarface. I was like, oh my gosh, they're putting this into this? This is awesome.
Did you go up to the sword of what's Ra's al Ghul's daughter?
Yes, and it was cool.
That was pretty neat.
It was so cool. It's just another organic moment where they brought up what happened. How she died in Arkham City, and like the music started. And he like has a moment.
Clearly touched.
Yeah, it's awesome. Just they didn't have to do it, but they did. Like they always take that extra step forward. It's just
the police precinct in general was just amazing,
and how it fills up with guys as you go on with the game.
And they say things about the storyline when you talk to them. So cool,
so good, man.
I haven't got into even some of the like characters that are in there that I guess you can talk to, like the reporter. I've talked to him. I haven't even gotten to like his side story. Can't wait to do that.
Yeah. All right. Any Easter eggs here? Because I've got a few things that I've come across where I'm like, you can either see that
the poster's probably my favorite.
That's
that I've encountered.
They have like the Gray Ghost poster everywhere, and that's a nice little Easter egg. That's the movie character that inspired Batman to be Batman. Basically, like kind of like inspired him as a kid, and like where he got a lot of his ideas from. That was a cool touch. In Wayne Tower, there's his voicemail. You can listen to his voicemail and go through it. And like I went through, I just kept going through them because there's a lot.
Wayne, man, you mean the clock tower?
No, yeah, sorry, I mean Wayne Industries.
Okay.
And it's at where Lucius Fox is, and you go through them, and you get Bruce Wayne gets a message from Lex Luthor, and it's so I was like, oh sweet. He's basically like, yeah, I'm returning any of my calls. I'm taking this personally, something like that.
Wow.
But I was like, that's
neat.
Awesome. And then as you keep going into them, you start
Could that
hearing.
Be foreshadowing?
Maybe. Who knows?
The Superman game.
That'll be crazy.
I doubt it.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know how they do it.
But that'd be cool.
But and then you get then it starts turning into the Joker as you keep going through it, and he's starting to mock you, and it's there's so much. So much. And then obviously comic book references throughout. You know, as I said, the Killing Joke is referenced again and again. Bunch of other comic stuff. It's great. I don't know if I have anything else to say to you.
One thing we kind of talked about it, but I didn't get to the one part where he's at the very finale when he's seen all the Jokers, you know, and he's fighting them.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the very finale, but
It's close.
Near the end. And right when he walks into that alleyway and then sees his parents laying there,
yeah,
I thought that was pretty neat.
It was awesome, and like
really like moves you emotionally. And
oh yeah,
that's what I think made me like this game as well. It really made me attached to Batman. Felt like I was the Batman. It's like, man, I know the pain that he's probably going through.
The fact that you like keep coming upon these like instances, like, literally like come upon it, not the point where you're like, oh, there it is, but it's like, oh, whoa, you're like surprised by it. It adds to like the emotional stakes, and the fact that when Jason appears to you like wrapped in a sheet and you have to pull it, it was like, oh my gosh, it's like it definitely like puts you in a place, and it's great.
The part where he's in the cage with the Joker blood cages that he had for them, and it's not Jason, it's the other one.
Oh yeah,
Tim.
Drake,
Tim.
Yeah.
Tim tells you to get in there, and then the Joker makes you get out, and then Tim makes you get back in. You have to do it over and over again.
Yep.
Thought I wasn't gonna come back, did you?
Yeah, that was really good.
And I know, like, I have to turn back and look back, and it's like, one of these times he's gonna freaking scare me.
Yeah, it happened a lot. Like going down the elevator into the theater, I was like, this elevator is taking a long time. And then I turn around and I see the Joker in like the freaking like whatever psych ward like rack or whatever. Do you want to rank this game?
Sure.
We haven't ranked the game before.
I've known
it's a big
from
step.
The moment I wanted to do this, I know exactly what I'm giving it.
Go ahead.
9.5.
9.5.
This is one of my favorite games I've ever played. I love this game. I think this is the most I don't know. This story is the one that has drawn me in the most, I think, of probably any game I've ever played.
Wow.
Okay. I got super involved in this and just look forward to every moment of it, and every moment of it seemed to end up like coming to fruition of what I hoped it would be. It was that, and sometimes more.
Yeah, I'm gonna join you in that 9.5. I think like while it isn't quite the best story I've played, it's the best like welding of story and gameplay I have ever seen. And the way they weld how the open world into the story it's something really impressive and incredible, and I haven't seen its rival yet. And I think the open world games that should take notice and really try to make their open worlds more lifelike and more welded into the story and less a playground. I know it's appropriate sometimes, but you know, just saying. But
certainly sets the bar for superheroes.
Oh yeah,
that's for sure.
I don't know what's going to be next. I have no idea.
I hope more game developers can take superheroes and develop their story, and we can kind of see behind the scenes like this. There's just so many good characters that have great movies made out of them, and I feel like I get to know the characters so much better in a game like this. I see their emotion, and you know, with a game that tells an in-depth story like this more,
oh, yeah.
I can see someone like Iron Man. I can see a game being made that, you know, maybe dives deep into his story. But I don't know, something like that. It'd just be. I hope more games like this come out. I'm
with you, man. Well, thanks for watching our first video game spoiler cast. Hopefully, we'll have more soon, especially since me and Luke both have the Xboxes. We'll
crazy fall coming.
Crazy fall. Goodness. Holy crap. We'll probably get into Halo 5, I'd imagine. Yeah. So that's one to look out for. But the podcasts that are coming next, we're going to go see Fantastic Four.
Right now,
pretty much. We're going from here to the theater, probably grab some food because I'm hungry. But
I'm hungry.
I want to enjoy this movie so bad, but all roads lead.
Don't worry, you won't.
Don't worry, I won't. But
just kidding.
Here's hoping.
Never know.
Never know. I might be the outlier who's like,
16
I
on
liked
Rotten
it.
Tomatoes. It's not that bad.
Yikes!
It's that bad.
All right. Well, we're gonna go see it, and stay tuned for SpoilerCast coming soon. Hopefully, we're gonna get some regular episodes coming up. We've had so many summer releases, SpoilerCast after SpoilerCast with Ant-Man,
Big
Mission
summer.
Impossible. It's all been crazy. But
Tune in.
Tune in. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter at MTGPod or on Facebook.com/MTGPodcast or on YouTube now for the past several months. I don't know why I'm saying now. Like it's a
Join
new
us
thing.
live.
Join us live. We're here live now. So if you want to actually like follow us and stuff like that, you can figure out when we're going on live and you can ask us questions and stuff. But anyways, guys, have a great day and we will see you next time. Let's go get some food and let's go watch Fantastic Four.
See ya.
See ya.